Morning, folks. John McNamara, your Wilbur-Ellis agronomist here at the Plattsmouth, Nebraska location. Wanted to follow up with you this morning in regard to something or a discussion we talked about here about 6 weeks ago surrounding differences in certain trait mixes within the soybean lineups that's available today. So this is the exact same location that we visited here 6 weeks ago. And if you remember, 6 weeks ago we talked about off-target movement, maybe from a 2,4-D or a dicamba drift. And this is typical of what we've seen across southeast Nebraska, really all fall or beginning of fall, late summer, is that these beans still remain shorter and they still kind of have that puckered cup look to them, whereas some of the XtendFlex soybeans have continued active growth, and as you can see, there's a marked difference in height. So what we've done is, here's a yardstick 36 inches tall, and if you look at the E3 offering or the 2,4-D offering, they're not even quite 36 inches in height, in plant height, to the top of the canopy. If you look at the XtendFlex, it's well beyond that, probably close to 48 inches or so. So again, another typical thing that we do this time of year is we look at pod count. It being the 22nd of August today, soybeans have the ability to put up with a lot of things. Shorter internodes is one thing. It doesn't take a tall bean to yield real well. We know that. However, we do need pod count. So what we want to do this morning is kind of look at that a little bit between the trait mixes. So, you know, what we try to do is bring up the whole plant. And if you remember, soybeans pod and begin their pod fill from the base of the plant up. So you look at the internodes, and we have had some rain here in the last couple weeks. See where I'm pointing on my finger? These are pods that have been initiated right after that rain. Here's another one. It's just coming out. So soybeans have a tendency, will that go ahead and fill? Will that develop into a bean seed? Well, probably need a little bit more help on rain. If you look at the very top of the plant, you can also see this. Here's the pod initiation that's continuing after that rain here about a week or 10 days ago. So what I like to do is basically strip these leaves off to get a better visual. I'm not going to count them all this morning, but you can kind of get a better visual as far as pod count by plant. I would not go into what I think a rain in late August, given the dry weather that we've had, adds to bushel-wise. That's a very dangerous proposition. Did it help? Yes. How much? Make a round in them in October and you'll kind of know as far as what kind of impact it may have had. All right, so we strip all these down, and you can look at that from a standpoint of, all right, we talk about genetics. Is this an erect, a semi-erect, or a bushy type plant? I would say it's probably in that semi-erect / bushy, but you know, notice the internodes, and that's what I'm talking about in between my thumb and my forefinger, that internode spacing. Okay, so what we've selected here this morning, it's the same maturity. It's a 3-4 bean in the E3 offering, and it's also a 3-4 bean in the XtendFlex offering. So let's dig up something that was right next door, somewhat randomly, if I get it out of the ground. And we do the same thing. We basically strip off these leaves, take a peek at what we've got for pod count, development-wise, and that type of thing. When we do all that, and you can also see that the XtendFlex beans are reacting to the rain much like the E3s are. Here's pod initiation right at the tip, or the growing point of the plant. Those are going to try to develop into a pod and fill. So if we look at these side by side, obviously in my left hand, that is what we would call an erect type plant type. This would be maybe like a semi-bush type plant. Which one looks better? Which one's going to yield better? Can't tell you that, but I do know this. The more nodes that you have on a stem, turns into usually the more flowers that you have on a stem, turns into the more pod or pod initiations that you have on the stem, which typically yields more. So we'll revisit this again come October. Wanted to kind of give you a middle of August update on where we're at between this E3 versus XtendFlex, these cupped beans that are non-cupped. And the thing I wanted to kind of recircle on about again on this cupping thing, if in fact it was an off-target movement process, and the off-target movement came from the left side or over here, these were sprayed with dicamba. These we think had some sort of injury to them. By this time of year, 6 to 8 weeks after the application was probably made, before the month of July began, these beans right here should be dead. Okay, they should be not even a relic anymore, if in fact you had some off-target movement. And again, it would fit kind of an off-target movement pattern. Maybe right here they would be dead, and over there further to the corn soybean break over there, you'd still see cupping, but maybe not quite as much. It would not react like they are right now, that everything's short. Everything is kind of puckered and short. So there's something about these E3 beans long about flower initiation that started this. Now, does it mean anything in the end? Here again, we'll figure that out in October. So with that, we'll revisit this again in October and give you some yield data.